I'll share that with you as well. And I also, as always, I actually encourage you guys to be more engaged and interactive, because that's what it is. Again, there is nothing for you guys to lose here. So there is some things which you are doing it. If I'm doing wrong, and if you guys have any questions, feel free to stop me, and we will have an open discussion.
Definitely. And just in case my connection does go out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give host to you.
Okay.
So you can share your screen. And during that time, if you can just accept other individuals on the call.
Absolutely. Yeah.
In case the connection does die on my end, just since I'm outside of the area,
Right.
you can end the call yourself as well. Once I'm the host, and I'll still have access with my other two devices here for the entire call. But that's good. No, listing presentation, very important topic, especially for newer agents, or if you even want to just an update or refresh your mind of how to complete your business or start off with engaging with your sellers or buyer clients, especially in this case, if we're listing them, we're dealing with sellers, selling clients specifically. There's many things that we need to do in order to make sure the client is prepared on their own, on their end. Listing is actually one of the best parts of the real estate industry. There's some individuals that prefer working with buyers. There's some individuals that prefer working on listings with sellers mainly. And I feel that once you're farming a specific area, based on what Salvana's always, telling us, reach out, work on with a specific neighborhood, farm that neighborhood very well, and once you get obtain listings, then you're automatically obtaining buyers as well, because those that are selling the property need to buy a property. So you have two transactions that's happening with one client, right? And that's something that we have to be consistent with. So definitely today's topic is going to be great when it comes to that. For newer agents, there's going to be a lot of information just on not more on the sales tactic side, but how preparing your clients,
right.
Making sure that they're ready to list, the mentality aspect of it. There's a lot to it than just signing documents, showing homes, and sending it to the lawyers, right? There's a lot of human interaction in this industry. Again, we're selling the most expensive thing to someone. We're brokering one of the most expensive thing anyone is going to be purchasing in their entire life, which is their home. So definitely knowing further insights and also refreshing on topics like this is very important. So with that in mind, we have around 60 individuals on the call, Gopa. You can definitely start.
Sure. So I have the access for the sharing screen. Okay. All right.
1 second. So I'll give access to you right now.
Okay, I have that. All right. So Kanna, if I don't speak with you, and if something happens to your line, it's okay. You enjoy your cottage time. We will take care of here.
Definitely. And right. I believe you have access to allow the others in, so you might have to bear that part of being host.
Yes. So, all right. And guys, make sure, utilize the chat button, and, if you have any questions and all that, make sure to unmute yourselves and ask that. We wanted to make it more interactive, this one.
Definitely. And, we have some background noise as well. So if anyone can just put yourself on mute, if everyone can just put yourself on mute for the time being. And then once it's the question and answer period, or if you have any questions in between, definitely speak out at that time. Thank you.
All right. So good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday. So hope you all are doing well. Just as always, let's start with touching base with our last few classes, just to make sure that we all actually, staying on track. So did anybody get any chance to take a stab on your database? Any kind of, calling script? Did you guys practice any calling script? You can on the chat box, or anything, guys? Not seeing anything on the chat box.
Sorry, I typing mistake. Hello.
Yes.
My typing mistake. Good morning. With update the provincial restriction due to the pandemic, are we able to bring our client in our own car for solving?
In this case, Sean, if it's possible, you can mute Galaxy A5. I believe there's some noise coming from the background there.
Yeah.
Give me a second, Sean. I'll get to your question.
Okay. I think
not a problem. I'm just gonna reclaim host, and then I'll get that done. Perfect. Okay. So your screen is still there, so that should be good there, Gopa.
okay.
Okay, so in this case, Sean, yes, we're still an essential service. There are many forms that we sent out from the brokerage previously regarding if you are showing properties to your clients, but papers, documents that they can carry with them. We'll have our office at the same time email out that to everyone again, just so we're aware because of the mandate to stay at home order. OREA, the Ontario Real Estate Association, they have created certain forms that we can provide to our clients. So then, if they're stopped on the road, and if Toronto Police or any other municipal police force ask them any questions, if they present that form, it's more than enough for them to be traveling for the purpose of engaging in real estate transactions. Now, the other thing you asked was, can they be traveling in the same vehicle as in your vehicle? I think that's a decision that you and your clients would have to make. It's more of a choice that you guys would make there if you guys are satisfied doing that. I don't believe there's any restrictions if your clients will have to travel in the same vehicle as yourself. I'm not aware of anything like that. However, if you do have the opportunity to have them, travel on their own, that's probably what's best. And if they don't have a vehicle, definitely. I'm sure both of you guys have if you guys have a mutual understanding, yes, you can. At the same time, we still take Uber, we still take taxis. There's someone in the front, there's passengers in the back. So Sean, I think that's no one's going to say no to that, but use your due diligence on that point.
Yeah, actually, I was also actually checking that rule, and Kanna, you're absolutely right. That's the restrictions. Yes, of course, the door knocking and open house and all that, there is restrictions, but showing to the people, real estate transaction is still considered as, essential services, for example, home inspection and all that, but you must need to actually follow all those protocols. And to Kanna's point, trying to, avoiding getting your client will be the best option for all of you, not just rule per se. It's for your own safety and the client safety as well. So
wonderful.
All right. Okay. So, guys, again, I'm hoping you all must have done something about your, database. If not, again, I'm going to reiterate that we are going to actually talk about, this is the best time to get all those things done because it's a slower period. So, things are going to get better. Things are, once it opens up and all that, it will be, like little more actually, we all will be more active. So utilize this free time to get your database ready and make sure that you're actually practicing all those script and create the plan for, your prospecting and all that. This is utilize this time for this one if you haven't done it. Again, you know what, the most important thing in our life is what we call the speed of implementation. Your brokerage can get lot many people and do this kind of training sessions and motivational speakers and all that. It's all great stuff, but by end of the day, if the implementation lies on you, like if you're not going to actually do that, there is nothing going to help for anybody. So the speed of implementation for any program to be successful, the key word here is the speed of implementation. When I say speed of implementation is how quickly you're actually adopting that and changing this. We have done almost, this is what, the 6th class so far. So, I want to make you feel all really sit back and think that, what did you really incorporate those ones which we have discussed in all these years, all these classes? Did anybody take some time to practice those scripts? Did anyone take some time to create some prospecting plan? Did anybody take anything to do with your database and all that? So if you haven't, you haven't missed anything, please do that. It is important because by end of the day, when I actually finish the sessions, in my biggest satisfaction is anybody comes back and say that this is helping me to develop my business base. So we spoke about the three things, which is schedule, your strategy, and the system. So the system is something. Today's presentation is something similarly directed with your system. Like, how do you actually do a listing presentation? How do you manage this listing process? Not the presentations, the listing process, if you get it. Many of them actually really like to do only with the buyer side. The reason is, it is fairly an easy things to do on a buying thing, because you're not having that discussion about the commission, and you're not having anything. And people are also, if they have somebody who made up the minds, then it's the buying is you find to be slightly easy, which is okay to do that. But at the same time, keep in mind, as Kanna also actually alluded that point in the beginning, ideally you have to focus on your listing. That will eventually get that client will get to do business with the buying side also, because when somebody lists it and sell it, there is also an opportunity to do the buying thing. The buying process will also be involved into that. The selling thing, if you really look at that, you're getting whatever the discount, your commissions you're making it. To top it, when you really look at that, you spent less time on the listing than the buyer things, right? Because basically in the listing, what you're doing is, once you walk them through the process and all that in the beginning, you put your all those MLS and all your digital footprint and all that, you update that, and then pretty much it's all actually, it is selling. The market is the one that's going to sell. So your effort for selling is actually ideally is lesser how much time you spend on the buying side. And ultimately that client is actually doing the two transactions with you. So your business base is actually, you're going to really expand that on the buying side and the selling side. So it is very important that is you do need to actually start focusing on the listing side. And those who are generally beginners will only start with the buying side, but that's okay. But ultimately, you have to actually start focusing on the listing side. And the listing presentations will really help you to get that, get that process a little more comfortable on that. And we'll actually walk you through some of those things. Then once you finish this, again, take some time to create that listing presentations, like whether it is whether it is PowerPoint or whatever you're comfortable with that, and happy to actually walk you through some of those questions if you have it. But you must need something, or even if it is a Word document you're writing, that there should be some document with that before you go for the listing presentation. So is anybody wants to either share with you or message me in the chat box? Is any of you have any listing presentation in place? You can either, if you wanted to actually do a private chat, it's also, so it's fine. Just wanted to know that how far are you folks with that listing presentations, and what kind of methodology, or anyone wanted to actually share will be great. Okay. No one.
Yeah, we have some experienced agents in the crowd today, so definitely insight might help a few others. There's everyone has their own setup when it comes to how to deal with the how to deal with sellers, right? Especially a listing presentation. It's something that's very common. It's something that everyone should know. To obtain listings. Everyone has their own unique aspect to it, right? It's never a guaranteed a step of process.
Right.
So if anyone has a specific way how they engage with sellers, definitely put your input in there. And what Gopal will be providing here as well is just an idea, which we then take it to the next level. We then put our own individual twists, what you prefer to say to clients and how to deal with them during that time. And of course, Silvana has always, we had multiple conversations, topics just on listing presentation, what to keep in the folder, how to, simple things like even driving, when you're taking buyers out, and when you're we're dealing with sellers, where to park your car, very simple things, you know, making sure you have your business card in one pocket and not, you know, you're not looking for in every other pocket, right? There's simple steps to it. Of course, make your own twist, but at the end of the day, the process is fairly similar. And once you know, get that under control, I think it'll be a breeze for everyone else.
Right. And it's, again, the more organized you are, it is you will be more productive, and also you're living that professionalism with the client. And it's actually from the beginning, when you're actually going and well prepared like that, during the process is going to be a smooth sailing. Like, there will not be any confusion, or there will not be any kind of misunderstanding in the middle of the process, because that's the whole purpose of having this, you know, the listing presentations, and you really controlling all those, the objection handling from the get-go. Because otherwise, in the middle of the thing, the client can come back, and I'm sure that you must have experienced these kind of questions from the client. You know, they're saying that, oh, you didn't mention about your commission percentage, or you didn't mention about you're going to do this in the MLS, right? I mean, or you didn't say that this is an exclusive listing. So it is very important having that listing presentation scheduled before you put that board on the signboard, say sale board on that in the front yard. Like, you know, have those conversations and get this actually squared away in the get-go. So it is very important, like the listing presentation, the 5 steps of listing presentation. First is, we spoke about pre-qualifying. You know, 100% of the customers you must pre-qualify before you go for an appointment. And I was mentioning to you, you know, it's about the MAT customer, right? You know, money to buy, the authority to buy, and the desire to buy, right? I mean, so you have to look at that, the MAT customer. That's what the pre-qualifying means, not just on the financial background. Do they have the desire to buy? Are they the right people to make that decision? You know, are you talking to the right person? Do they have the authority to make that decisions to buy or sell? And otherwise you will be wasting your time. So you must make sure that it's 100% of your customers, you pre-qualify that. As I mentioned, don't get disheartened when you do the pre-qualifying. You might lose some customers, but that's okay to lose in the beginning, rather than waste, you know, unproducing hours for them, and then you later on you find out that's not the right customer. So it's better to find out it's not the right people. So the pre-qualifying in the beginning is the right way to do that. So it said that it determines the seriousness, if they're serious or not, you know, like whether do they have and it gives their concerns and objections ahead of time. When you're pre-qualifying, you kind of get an idea about, you know, what are their objections, do they actually like certain areas, are they only looking for, you know, 3-bedroom or 4-bedroom, or whatever the objections you can think about related to that selling process. Like, or are they concerned about the commission you're going to charge? Are they concerned about, you know, the area where you're going to actually, you know, put it, whether it's only MLS, or what kind of things? Do they have any objection if they have any old people in the house, or are they concerned about, you know, showing time? Or do they have any tenant in the basements? Do you need to actually have the conversation with them? So it's very important to clear those things before you put that sale board in their front yard. So that's where you're going to actually clear it out, everything, because every time when there is any objection comes, you can relate to that topic. You know, Mr. Seller, we spoke to you on the other day, and you mentioned, you know, your basement rental tenants will be cooperatives in whenever we are showing the house, right? I mean, you mentioned that you are only available to show the place between, you know, 9 to 3 p.m., whatever the time. So it's very important that you clear it out, all those things from the beginning itself. And it's going to demonstrate your professionalism, because you have actually done that. You've done your homework. You're giving confidence to the seller that is, yes, he's coming with the, you know, the homework, he has done it. So it's really going to actually show that professionalism in that. And, you know, it's a great opportunity for you when you do the listing presentations after the pre-qualifying. When you go for the listing presentations, it's a great opportunity for you to get the rapport between the seller and yourself, you as a salesperson. So it's a great time to develop that, because all those objections and all that you're handling before you put that sale board. So it's a great time to build that relationship with them. So this is something, and I'm one step ahead. If you really wanted to show the, you know, that differentiation between the normal salespeople and then, you know, like that, this is where you're really going to actually justify that is you are a like well-prepared sales guys. I know many people, there are really good agents and all that. They either deliver or, mail it, the listing package a day before, right? When you're saying that you're meeting with the listing presentation with the seller is actually tomorrow, a day before they will go and deliver it, hand delivery is like, just it's in a presentation, whether it is a PowerPoint or whether it is actually in a Word document or some kind of document. So they will actually go and deliver that by hand, so that they will have an opportunity, the seller will have an opportunity to go through that and be prepared to ask questions when you go and meet with them the next day. It's like if you have worked in a corporate organization, you know that whenever there is a meeting, it's actually scheduled, the PowerPoint deck or whatever the information, the agenda will be sent a day before, right? So that the audience will have an opportunity to be prepared, come prepared to ask those questions. What's the topic you're going to discuss? So this is what it's really show that professionalism a day before you create that and then go and drop that, that listing presentation. One disclaimer, and I'm sure that people who have actually experienced will agree with me or actually keep me, honest. Whatever the informations you are actually sharing with them a day before, make sure that is you're not giving a whole lot of information. For example, the CMA, the comparative market analysis, is not something which you wanted to give it to the client easily, unless if you have that kind of confidence and the relationship with the client and the paperwork has already done it. Because customers are also actually smart. They try to get, we all do it, right? I mean, we will shop around, we will go and find out. And once we know this is not some things which I wanted to do it, and this person, if your listing presentation is not up to the mark, you are actually giving an opportunity to go and shop around with somebody. So you got to be really careful, what information you're actually giving it to them a day before in the listing presentation, and what kind of relationship you have it with that client. Like, do you have the confidence? Okay, what, certain clients, that this person is not going to go anywhere, right? I mean, he will do it with business with me, whatever the relations you have it, or else, the paperwork, the contract has already, the buyer representation or the seller representation has already been signed. Then of course they can't, legally you bind it them, so you cannot actually, they cannot actually change their word. So what you're actually putting in the listing presentations, what is the listing presentations will include? The listing presentation, first of all, like just you start with something, you can go with any fancy way you want it. You can some nice pamphlet you can actually create, as I said that, or just put some, flash drive, you put all those information, or it just as a, in the Word document. So ideally you should have this information minimum, a list of personal references and the list of name and phone numbers, right? I mean, of course, you start with the first page is who you are, right? I mean, if it is you as a salesperson, just with your photo, and then just a one paragraph, how long you've been in the business, or, what's your sales representative, and that kind of just the synopsis of your biodata, right? I mean, so that should be the front page. And those who have actually been new in this business, they may not have any success stories to share. So that's where you have to leverage your brokerage. Like, I mean, you talk about, the home life futures, future company, like, and then you talk about your company background, how many people are there, right? You talk about that as a, one paragraph about your brokerage. And then you a list of your personal references and list names and the phone numbers. Like, if you have done any business within the past, if you can get some testimonial from them, you go and ask for it. Or, even if you haven't done anything, I'm sure that your broker of record will not hesitate to give you those references and all that. Go and ask. You make the letters and ask them to sign it. I'm sure there is no problem in giving it to them if you haven't done any transactions with anybody, and if you are new. If you have done any transactions, you must actually go to them and ask them, are they comfortable in giving your testimonies? And that should be in your listing presentations, how you did it, and just a few words, how was your service, and will they actually endorse you? And I also make sure that is at least minimum their name and contact detail, because the testimony should be always actually, you can't just randomly write somebody's names. You have to actually put that disclaimer there, so because that's important. That is where this that shows that authenticity is who's actually endorsing you, right? And your plan of action to sell that property, like, that's, you can think about what you're going to do, that 10, 15 things you're going to do at your MLS. You're going to contact the open house. Again, I'm not talking about the pandemic period. You cannot do open house right now. So, you talk about that 10, 15 things of the marketing, how you're going to post it in the Facebook, your digital footprint, your own website, and, talk about your brokerage where you have got, 400 agents working, and you will be spreading those words within 400 agents, right? Are you going to, contact any open house and your own database, and how quickly you are able to sell in that neighborhood? So, like, just write about that few words and few steps, and in the one page you should have that set up. And copy of your track record and the customer testimonial, as I just mentioned. Your track record is, you look at that. This is what it's this we are in the month of April. Then from January till April, how many houses you sold and what areas, and how quickly your average listing day, listing days, and how quickly you were able to sell. So you put some of those numbers. Make sure you're not actually pulling that, just on your own. It should be factual, because it's very important. That is, you're not actually putting any kind of, data which is not right. So if you have actually sold something and quickly, and your average listing day in the market is only 14 days, call that out and be, let them know that is you are able to sell this quickly. It's because of your database, the rich database and the connections you have it. And as I mentioned, the CMA is you probably wanted to keep that with you, the comparative market analysis. That's something which you're giving a whole lot of information well in advance. So you can, if you know the customer well, and if you have done the seller representations agreements already, feel free to give that in a day before. Otherwise, keep that with you, and have that conversations when you actually go and discuss with them, because that's where you're giving more information, and that might actually change their mind if your CMA is not up to the mark. But again, it's up to you to actually do a thorough job and spend some time. If you haven't done CMA or something, take somebody's help from in your brokerage and learn that, and make sure that is very important. That is what it's going to give you your justification. How did you come with this pricing, right? And it's today's market is very difficult. Like, it's very, so you spending that time, and then how are you actually suggesting that pricing with that and your rationale behind coming up with that pricing. On a completed contract is the seller representations. And although, you guys should be knowing all those documents, what you need to get it signed and all that. Take that contract with you to get that. After the listing presentations, ideally, you must get that signature, the seller representations, once you finish that.
Perfect. Just to add on that point, regarding the CMA, since we have 90 people on the call, I just want to let everyone know, whoever needs help, how to create CMAs. If you haven't done it before, it's a simple process. It's all through Stratus MLS system. Real estate boards system. In this case, every Fridays we have in-person training. Due to COVID right now, we don't have it, but we do have training every Fridays. Rafael Salvakumar is the one that teaches that, and he usually touches up on the topics of CMA and etc. So if anyone wants any hands-on assistance with that, definitely reach out to our sessions that take place on Friday, and you'll get help with that. And of course, Toronto Real Estate, our system itself, the MLS system, it has all of the trainings, all the procedures there for the CMAs. It's a very simple process, and it'll be very helpful with you determining the homes.
Yes. No, thank you for that. And you know what, guys, CMA is actually, it's a very easy thing. You all know that I'm not licensed yet, but I can do it in seconds, because because what I'm trying to tell you is, go and search on the MLS. It is very easy. Like, you just put those informations and all that. If you haven't done it, so you take some own interest and learn that, and this will really help you, that you also know that rather than if someone else is actually doing the CMA, if you do it yourself, when you go and meet with the clients, you are more knowledgeable to go and answer those questions, and give that the background, how did you actually come up with this price, right? And your disclosure statement. Your disclosure statement is where your commission and all that things. So like you talk about that, whatever the disclosure statement. And some of the things you can also put some moving tips and what you're doing it, and we'll talk about that in a little. So at least this information, this is what a listing presentation should look like, right? You can either make it in a PowerPoint or Word document or something in a flash drive. So but you should have this information. If those who have actually new, and keep it ready, right? You can always change the property address and all that, but you don't need to actually always think about that. This is not that for every time you have to spend a whole lot of time. For example, the first thing, like the list, a list of personal references and list names, you don't have to do it for every time. So, I mean, that's one thing which you can keep it for all your listing presentations. Your plan of action to sell the property is somewhat same, right? I mean, you're going to do the open house, you're going to do the MLS and your digital footprint and all that. It's going to be the same. So you can use it for all your listing presentations. Copy of track record is the same. CMA will change property to property, right? I mean, that's something which is you will have to do it. Again, that won't take much of time. And then a completed contract is also like something, like you'll have to. So the moving tips is again the same thing for all house. It will be the same, right? I mean, there will be some kind of changes and all that. Only you need to do it. So my point is, even if you are not actually sold so far, and even if you're new, start making this. It is okay to keep it ready when you have actually listing presentation. You don't need to actually run that. What do they say? Dig the well before you are thirsty, right? You don't want it to actually, when you're thirsty, don't go and start finding out how do you dig the well and then go for water. So keep it ready, guys. Even if you must be thinking that, what, I don't even have one listing. Why would I bother? Don't think in that way. Keep this listing presentation ready. Somebody was actually raised a heart. Delano?
Yeah. Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, one of the things to do is as you prepare this listing preparation, practice it with somebody, get the fluency in it, get the sentence structure right, have it in a nice flow of a sequence where at the end of it, you're able to get the signature, because you don't want to kind of miss your steps and kind of move things around and then you don't know what you have to say next. And the other thing is when you're practicing, get the other person to interrupt you and ask you questions so that you can kind of think on your feet and go back to your material and stay in your area of competence. It's a good thing to practice before you go there anyway. So
most definitely, yeah. I just want to add on this point as well. And since we're talking about CMA specifically here, when it comes to listing presentation, when we state that creating a CMA is a simple procedure, it is a simple procedure. The system, it's the way the software is built, it's very simple. You plug in all of the properties that you want to use as comparables, and then you can fill out additional information there. That process, creating that document in itself, is fairly simple. It's been simplified, very user friendly. However, remember, it is your research that actually makes this correct. So if you don't look at the property properly, if you're not looking at the correct or the more the right comparables, then you're going to be off on your entire pricing structure. And let this be a way, a CMA listing presentation is a way you actually awe your client. It's a way that you can differentiate from other realtors. So if you bring up additional properties and say, not only are these three the proper comparables for your property, I also want you to look at the recent sales for the properties in your area, but that are not comparable to you. And this is why your property is not worth this much. And this is why your property is, not worth this much. So you can definitely start a bigger conversation with this, and also build your clients' comfort. Again, going back to Delano's point, you got to practice this. Salvana always says everyone has the same license in their pocket, and there's no excuse to say when you have a client to figure out how to do a CMA, or how to do a proper listing presentation, or only when you have a client you go out and print business cards, flyers, and other marketing material. That's not an excuse. All of this must be done prior. You must have the training. You should know the know-how. You should be able to handle rejections. I'm sure that's going to be a topic that we'll probably bring up later on. As Delano mentioned and Gopa mentioned, this has to be systemic. You have to have it in your blood flowing through, and you can't really be guessing when you're being questioned by a client. Or if a client says, there's another property in the area, why didn't you include that? That sold for 2 million, and why are you saying my property is only 1.8 million? All of these you got to be able to answer quite rapidly, and that's the only way you can engage with your clients and show them your confidence, and then that'll increase the relationship you guys have, right? Just something that I wanted to add.
No, and thank you both. And Delano, you're absolutely right. There is nothing like practicing it, whether not just the listing presentation, even the contract. You should actually read the contract. You should know that when somebody actually asks about, what does chattels and fixtures means, what is the documentation, what is this talk about. So you should be able to actually practice that well, and you should be able to answer those questions. Same like the listing presentation, practice it. Like the more confident you are in actually answering those questions is where you're going to actually show the differentiation between the real estate guy who's actually being successful or someone who just got the license in their pocket. So it is important that you should take time to practice those ones, right? And we will go through a topic called objection handling. So we'll cover that at some other class. So one other thing, like again, people who can correct me, because something in my this thing, when you're actually doing the pre-qualification, always ask the customer the expected price before you give anything, because everybody will have certain expectation on what they own, right? I mean, anything, it can be a car or your relationship or something, there is some expectation. So it's an emotional thing for all of them. So instead of you just going with the CMA and telling that your property, Mr. Seller, your properties is $1 million or 800,000, sometimes you will be actually, like upsetting them. Their expectation may not be realistic. Their expectation completely off the, of the expectation. That is okay. That is where you show your expertise in explaining to them, Mr. Seller, you said you won $1 million, but my recommendation is go with 800,000. And this is the reason this 800,000 is actually ideal for this property, right? Because at least you will have an idea how far it's. 200,000 is where you need to give the justifications why you're not actually putting it. That's where your CMA is going to help you. That's where the properties which Kanna just mentioned, you're going to show the comparison in the street, in that area, in the neighborhood, you're going to show that. So when you do the pre-qualification, the rule of thumb is, and again, Delano or somebody who's actually experienced, tell me if I'm wrong, like you should ask that. So Mr. Seller, what's your expectation for your property? They say 1 million, bite your tongue, don't say anything. Then you go and do your, CMA, and then go back to answer that 1 million. And you may be actually a winner. You say that, what, it's not 1 million. I recommend you to put it for 1.2. And then, that shows the value. And then that's where you're really going to build that relationships. Delano, go ahead, please.
Okay, I had my hand up before. Yeah, no, when they give you a price, it's never a good idea to say or challenge it, but to ask them their reasoning behind why they came to that price. Yeah. Once they give you that reasons, don't try to fight each of those reasons or explain why each of those reasons is wrong. Just show what you have. Just show what you have, show what you've done. Right. And then that's a way of gently kind of guiding them along the line. You don't want to create an avenue of conflict or boundaries. Yeah, so that's all.
Right. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Bite your tongue. Like, again, I tell you, like, selling is not telling. Selling is listening, right? So if your client is saying that it is there, and as we mentioned, Delano mentioned, ask the rationale, like, okay, so you bought it for, and again, when you're actually having this, you should be doing that homework before you do that conversation with them, right? Go to the, that how to go to the Geo warehouse and check that, this property was actually sold it, and when was it actually built, and all those informations, you have it. Yeah, and that's the differentiation from a layman between the real estate sales agent, right? So you go on the MLS, check the previous listing, check the geo warehouse, and see that what was it actually sold. So if the client is actually being really unrealistic, if this was only, from the past, it's not more than $1 million, which you are absolutely convinced yourself, but the client is saying 1.3, but again, bite your tongue and go and, demonstrate that knowledge and you're rational when you do the listing presentation and tell them, this is where I feel it is not actually 1.3 million worth it. And again, we will touch on that on the objection handling, because if you list it high, doesn't mean that it's actually going to get it. It's actually backfire you and the client, right? I mean, you will not be able to actually sell that. Then that will be in the market forever. And it's actually a bad reputation for you because you're not able to sell it, because client is going to actually take the contract from you and give it to someone else. And what the client is going to say that they will not actually take the responsibility that is, I told the real estate guy to, list it for this price. That will not come. It will actually go against you. It will say that agent was not able to sell my property, and then this is the reason. So make sure that is whatever you're signing up, it's all you are responsible for this, right? And as I said, that take this time to practice these things, to create the listing presentation, and in that way, when something comes up, you are ready to actually go on. Even if you are a new agent, you don't have any listing, it is okay to create this listing presentations and be prepared. Again, dig the well before you are thirsty, right? And when you go for the listing presentation, call back and confirms and receive your listing package. It shows the professionalism. You're actually, you're calling back and you're making sure you're serious. Like, you're serious. Your client is serious, because otherwise that also actually shows that they will also be prepared. They're not going to actually waste your time. And that way you made sure that is you're going to come and reconfirm that. And again, this is something which is we were actually talking about last week. Like, you don't want to meet with the one-legged appointment. If husband and wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, father, whoever the decision makers, make sure that is, and ask them, all of them are going to be there. So Mr. Sellers, you mentioned that your spouse is actually working. Is she okay to be there at 6 o'clock? So, make sure that all decision makers are there, right? And ask them if, assuming you have done the listing package a day before, and ask them, did you get a chance to take a look at that? Is there anything else you want me to answer to you before I come right now? So be prepared. I'll ask them that is, did they get a chance? Again, think about, guys, if you ever worked in a corporate atmosphere, or if you ever in your school, and whatever you're doing before this real estate agents, this is the way on a meeting is actually always conducted, right? You will give the agenda. You will actually make sure all the audience have received that. You will reconfirm this meeting time, and then you will check with that if there is any concern, and then you be prepared to answer those questions when in the meeting, right? And of course, show up on time, and because this is your show up time. So you have to be there on time. Dress up nicely. So you make sure that is your professionally you're actually doing that. And as I said, that practice the script. Objection handling, like as Delano mentioned, that is, you have to actually practice this. Either you get somebody from the family member, or you practice in front of the mirror. There's nothing like it. I mean, it's that will really give you an self critique. You sit in front of, you can get yours with somebody from the from your family member willing to listen, that do that. Or if not, record it yourself and listen to yourself, how you're actually talking it, or stand in front of the mirror and practice it. These are some of the techniques you can actually practice those on your own, right? And remember, you are presenting something, you're trying to sell something which is so close to that seller, and the most expensive things, as we all know that. So expect there will be questions coming in. So what you can do, be prepared to answer that. Right? I mean, you can't control the questions coming. So you cannot say that, Mr. Seller, you cannot ask this question. You can do what you can do. Be prepared that question is going to come, and be prepared to answer those ones, right? And see, you have done all other homework prior to the listing presentation. So you have to make sure the meeting should be, short, because the more you actually going to talk, it's only going to you will only going to create more confusions, more questions, and all that. So your idea is, you did the you think about it. you have your database, you did the prospecting, you did your pre-qualification, then you're going for your listing presentation, right? So you already had this conversations with this client. So pretty much almost all covered when you go for the listing presentation. So listing presentation is technically to go through the contract, decision on the pricing, and get the contract signed. So it should be like kind of a half an hour conversations in the listing presentations. And tell the truth, the things which you cannot deliver, which you cannot do it, be upfront. There is, otherwise you will definitely going to get into the trap by saying that, okay, you are able to do that. And if you're not able to actually always deliver that, it will only going to backfire, right? Always remember, in the customer service, there is a difference between the customer service and delighting the customer. The delighting customer service is something which you are expected to do it. That is customer service, right? I mean, and you're delivering it. That is not what you wanted to do it. You have to delight the customer. The delighting the customer is when you surprise them, right? I mean, when you're actually, they're saying that, 1 million is the price, but I can sell it for, I'll be able to get you 1.2. Like, so some things which is not as part of that, that's what the delighting the customer, right? So your focus is always delighting the customer, not servicing the customer. Servicing, anybody can do it. So, but that's where the difference you're going to show, that always, under promise and over delivery, right? That's what the delighting the customer is. Anything so far? I didn't see anything on the chat box. How's it going so far?
This is going really good, Mr. Goba. Thank you so much. Thank you. Every Saturday morning, you're coming and giving them the energy and the knowledge. When I start, I always ask them the $1 million question. Today, I received some $1 million answer from you. Dig the well before you are thirsty. You repeated that one few times. I love those one, actually. That's a mistake. When I'm managing over 600 agents, right. My job is receiving the phone call and patient and helping them out. And honestly saying, the worst question I receive from our agents, I've been in the industry for the last 5 years. This is my first listing. Can you help me? But my first assignment. Then, honestly saying, you repeated few times today. It's an amazing word. Dig the well before you are thirsty, man. That's why what you are doing it. I always tell them exactly the same, but you said, I give them an example. The American army is sitting in the camp. They are not sleeping. They are practicing themselves before they go to the war. And that's kind of message I always give them. Thank you so much. And Kana, thanks for arranging the meeting, Kana. I know you are on vacation today, and with your friends in the bachelor party, and still you arrange it. That's very nice of you. Really appreciate Delano and everybody who are participating the meeting. And you guys, please come and give some talk and chat box. And then only the trainer who training you can have something to talk to you guys. Don't be quiet. Okay. Thank you so much, guys. We'll wait until the next Saturday morning, Goba. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that. You know what, again, think about, guys, this sportsman, like, for whether it is basketball player or soccer players and all that, their game is in a year, maybe 5 or 6 games in a year, but what do they do actually throughout the year? They practice it, right? They're getting prepared for themselves, right? So that's what it's actually. So don't give that excuse. I do not have any listing, so I don't need to get prepared this. I don't have anything, no buyers are actually there, so I don't need to practice the script. So I haven't done any contract, so I don't need to learn about the contract. That's not the way you're going to be successful. So be prepared. Like, it is very important. Like, tomorrow, if you get a listing, if let's say let me put you into this scenario. You're prospecting, you don't have you're fairly a new agent, or maybe 1 year, and you haven't done any listings so far. You started picking up and prospecting calls and all that, and the client is saying that, okay, come and meet me tomorrow. What will you do, right? So you at that time, are you going to run around and creating this listing presentations, try to learn about the contract, try to learn about the CMA and all that? So that's not actually going to be successful. You will definitely not going to impress that customer for sure. So that the right time to do it is today. Like, when you actually spend some time and make sure that this listing presentations and get that ready. So again, what is actually, learn everything relevant that you can about the listing properties and the seller. This is something kind of your background when you're going for the listing presentation. Learn about that property. As I said, that go to Geo Warehouse, go to MLS, look at the previous listing, like Geo Warehouse, how many square feet. The client will say that, pretty much the house owners will never say the exact square footage, right? I mean, they will always say that if 43, 45, because people really don't know, like the layman doesn't know, is the basement is actually included, or above ground is what we actually really, calculate. So that is where you as a professional will actually help them understand. Yes, I mean, your understanding is 4,300 square feet, but it's actually, based on the Geo Warehouse or based on this impact record, it is not actually 4,300. It's actually 3,800. That's because we don't actually calculate the one. We only calculate the above the ground. So that's where you're going to actually show them. So make sure you learn about the property, and in fact about the, these days to know about the owners are also very easy. All those digital media such as LinkedIn and Facebook and all that, it will give you an idea about what kind of customer or what kind of seller is going to be, just to get an idea. It's not a lot, like, just search on them. Because why? If someone who is somebody who's actually really well educated, that, so you need to actually say, I'm not being judgmental about the education here. I hope you guys will understand and take it in the right way, because checking the seller, the customer on the LinkedIn and Facebook is important to know what kind of people they are. And in that way, you can be a little more prepared if you are actually meeting them for the first time, right? And if time permits, take some time to drive around in that neighborhood before you go and meet with them, because that will give you an idea about what it is. Because what are we trying to do here? Like, you're going to show the professionalism. You're going to show the differentiation between the other real estate agents, or the seller thinks that do it yourself. Why do I need to come to a real estate agent? Why do I pay the 3.5% commissions, 2.5% commission, whatever the commissions you're actually. So that's the differentiation you're going to do it. So take some time to do this homeworks before you go for the listing presentation. And as I said that, check the MLS record and understand the previous pricing trend. Provide some suggestions for small upgrades, such if you think that if you have done, a drive through, or when you do that walk around in the house, you have noticed something which is, maybe the driveway is actually cracked, or some windows are not there, some kind of, depending upon the financial conditions, because obviously it doesn't make sense when you say that, okay, change the bathroom or change the kitchen and all that. Those ones are the expensive ones. But there is always something called a return on investment, like, how much you are investing and what kind of return you're going to get it. So you as a professional should know that, right? I mean, it's a landscaping and some kind of, staging main living areas and cleaning, and declutter the house, right? To make sure that, depersonalize, right? I mean, that's what, when you're selling a property, what is actually you're recommending is depersonalize the properties, right? I mean, depersonalize means when somebody comes in, they shouldn't be thinking that it is someone else's property. They are actually you. When you go and see that, you want to see that how you're going to be comfortable in living in that house, not that you're seeing it as someone else's property, right? I mean, so for that, it is depersonalizing is what. Depersonalizing, for example, is, help them understand, you don't want to put any family pictures on the wall, take some of those things. And there are certain sensitive things, like somebody who's actually really like a lot of religious related pictures and all that, you need to understand the sensitivity behind and help them understand to depersonalize those ones, right? Because the more you are actually make the property as someone else, it is easier to sell it, right? Because but when you walk in and you see that, maybe you're from a different community or different religion, and you walk into this thing, so those things can have a huge impact. But again, guys, those are very sensitive. You all are adult. I'm not talking to a kindergarten kids here, so you should be knowing it what I'm talking about. And landscaping and fix and small things will make a lot of difference. Like if a bulb is actually fused and it's not working, tell them what it is important. Like it's a small thing, right? I mean, and open some fixtures and broken some some of the light fixtures and all that, the small things, you help them understand the importance of fixing it and making it presentable. Okay, can you guys mute yourself? Somebody is, I don't know who it is. Okay, all right. Okay, anybody wants to add anything so far? Okay, all right. And again, the listing presentation is this, understand the reason for selling. Like when you're doing the pre-qualifying and all that, you should be actually speaking with the when the pre-qualification process, you know that, you know, why they're selling, whether they are moving or upgrading themselves, or, you know, like, I mean, or downgrading themselves. Whatever the reasons, you should have actually an idea about that. What is the seller's motivation behind that selling the property, right? Because that will actually help you how quickly you can, you know, what's the closing date and all that, because that's some things you must actually have that conversations, whether are they actually need to move out of this place within 30 days, 90 days, are they flexible on the closing time? Because think about this, these are the things which will help you during the negotiation process. When you get an offer, you put it for listing and you get an offer. So you need to have these kind of arms and ammunitions with you to do the negotiations, because sometimes pricing is not the only things you have to focus on negotiation. Like, I mean, not sometime, pretty much. Like negotiation is actually a combination of everything, right? You got your pricing, you got your moving dates, you got your, you know, like, I mean, other things, you know, other terms and conditions, and everything will come into the picture. So that's why it is important that is you learn all those things so that you can utilize for your negotiation, right? So the moving time and all that, and make sure to set the CMA statistics. We spoke about the CMA. The CMA statistics, basically your rationale behind, you know, how did you come up with this pricing and what is it about? And I was talking about talk about yourself and your area of expertise, and never speak, you know, you don't want to talk about any competition there. Yeah, I mean, if somebody asks you, they ask you, you know, you talk about that. We will touch this particular topic in the objection handling. If someone says that if other agent is actually only charging me this, you know, why you're charging me? So you need to have that story behind you. And, you know, and instead of talking about the competition, you say that I'm not sure, Mr. Seller, what they're doing it, but I'm charging this commissions because these are the things I'm going to do it, and this is what my expertise, and this is my track record, right? I mean, so control the conversation, something like that, instead of just trying to say that, oh, they don't do that, so you don't want to do that. And that's why I was telling you, sometimes it's very important to check the seller's profile in LinkedIn, Facebook, and all that. You know that, you know, who they are and what kind of people and all that. That will give you an idea about that. Your overall descriptions, and talk about your commission structures, and smile, make eye contacts, and dress up well, and, you know, wear your company badge, right? So this one again, you know, always follow up with a personal note. You know, don't overlook at the financial situations, because that's what I was mentioning to you. When you did the pre-qualifications, you have an idea about the client, where the seller is actually, if they don't have actually that kind of finance available, then there is no point in recommending them, you know, redo the kitchen or redo the bathroom and all that. So maybe you have to just minimum upgrades, such as, you know, just landscaping or some changing fixtures and all those things. So you have to be mindful when you're making those recommendations, where they are and what's their financial situation. And it's also the justification behind that. If you actually really asking them to redo the kitchen, and what kind of return you're committing. So you need to know, you know, what we're actually really talking to them. And it's not about, you know, you don't want to have that direct question about what's your budget, right? I mean, rather your options first, right? I mean, you tell them when you're actually doing that listing, when we're certain things and all that, you know, are you comfortable in doing that? You know, it's about, and you helping them understand the reason why we are telling these kind of things. Upgrades will help you more to bring more money. So that's what you have to actually do that. Some of the small things, you know, like you don't want to ignore the client's pet, because sometimes that's also actually an important thing. So you have to let them know when you do the showing process and all that, how do you actually tell them? It's for some of them, it's like their own child, right? So it is important that but at the same time, when you're putting that on a listing and then the showing is going to happen, make sure, tell them, how do you want to actually manage that? Because this is, again, think about that. It's all about the depersonalizing the property, right? I mean, so you're not making it for someone else as how they're going to be in that house. So it is, if they have any pets and all that, make sure that is you touch on those and clarify that how they're going to actually keep the pet during the showing process. And you shouldn't be parking your car on the driveway when you do the listing presentation. The simple reason is, imagine like, you're actually sitting there and having the middle of the discussions. If their child or, if their children or someone else is coming or visit them, and then you have to get up in the middle of the meeting and then you go and change the car for them because they have to take the car out of their garage, right? So the idea here is show professionalism and be prepared, right? And you don't want it to have any interruption in the beginning. It is such a small thing, but when it happens, it's actually completely, like you will lose that momentum, that meeting's momentum. Then you come back from that and then you have the conversations. It's not a good thing. So what you have to do, you have to show the differentiation, right? And that's why small things, be prepared. Like, park your car somewhere on the street. Like, you don't want it to actually use the driveway, right? And again, small things, you don't want it to interrupt. Like,
Hi.
put your cell phone on mute. And don't forget to thank there for the times. Yes.
Yes. Good morning. This is Mohan. I just want to, I don't know, maybe most likely it's related. It's happened to me as well. One of the sellers, they just like 3 or 4 months ago closed, the mortgage for 5 years. They didn't say anything to me. And I asked, oh, there's no issues. And then they said, end of the listing presentation, they said, okay, we closed 3 or 4 months ago. And I told them, you better find out about the fine or the penalty and everything. And then they got a big, really amount should pay. So I thought it's better to tell them or in the front, or maybe after everything is finished and the conversation finished, I just ask quick question, what about the mortgage? And then everything, fall apart. So I just want to, bring this point as well. If you can, thank you so much. Okay.
Yeah. No. Thanks for that. Actually bringing that. Absolutely. Those things are all actually, you must actually talk about those, like there again, you see, this is actually the framework, what I'm actually touching on that. You being as a real estate agent, certain things, it's first of all, your conversation is, when you do the pre-qualifying, how much down payment you have it, right? How much down payment you have it when they say, I got 100,000. So your question is that 100,000 is easily available? Because people will say the 100,000, maybe that will be in RRSP, maybe that will be in some other bond or some other, maybe they're getting money from back home. You don't want to get that, because when you say that, you have to actually really clarify those things. That's what, like you have to keep taking the conversations and prod the customer to get the right answer. When they say 100,000, your next question should be, is that 100,000 is in your savings or checking account? Is it easily accessible? Yes, right? And see, again, think about the objection handling. So Mohan, when you're actually saying that if you would have done that, and I'm not saying that, good for you, that is you're coming and sharing this, but if this was actually discussed in the beginning, you can definitely connect that. Mr. Seller, you mentioned you have this 100,000 available. Now, what do you want me to do, right? At least you're actually covering yourself and making sure that you're showing the differentiation. You're actually not actually giving them the truth. They will at least not think bad about you, right? But when they say 100,000 down payment, your second question is, okay, if we were able to sell this for $1 million, what's your mortgage balance, right? You must ask them. And when they say that, yeah, I got around 600,000. No. Can you check that in the bank? Can you tell me what exactly is your mortgage balance, right? Your mortgage balance is only 500,000. Are you going to plan to put this balance coming from 500,000? If we were able to sell this $1 million, you give 500 to the bank, rest 500, right? Whatever, I'm not talking about the commission and the land transfer. You guys should be knowing all that, right? I mean, so take an approximate figure. So are you planning to put all this 400,000 down payment towards the new house? Do you have any other debts? And you have to help them understand them in the beginning itself. It is, there is no fun in getting a contract signed and you having all this conversation later on. right? It's not going to, that deal is not going to go through for sure, because if you haven't actually cleared all this. So it's not about just getting your buyer representation signed or seller representation signed, or, like, the contract signed. That is actually should be, everything is cleared up, and then you get your contract signed, and then you start working on all those ones. That's the way it should be. It's not on, you're putting the, cart in front of the horse, right? It should be always actually like you do all these things and then you cover that, right?
Definitely. I just want to add on that. A very good point that was made across there. Mohan, unfortunately, I missed your question, but since we're talking about the processes and what we should know, some of the information that we should provide the clients upfront, I think that's very important. Everyone knows that I mainly do mortgages, right? And the amount of clients that sit in front of me that don't even have a clue of what land transfer tax is, there's a lot of individuals like that. Right. I think even though we shouldn't get, my advice as a on the broker side, on the mortgage world, I would advise real estate agents, don't get too invested into your clients' financials, because then it's going to get a little bit difficult in case something doesn't work out or something does work out. Certain points of where clients coming asking you for favors last minute. So don't get too involved in their financials. However, you should know a basic understanding how much they have. Do they have enough for closing costs? Are the clients aware? If clients say, I only have 100,000, I don't have any more, not even a penny more, I don't want to invest anything, I can't put in any more money. So then, as a real estate agent, we have to understand, hey, there is going to be closing costs. If I buy it in the GTA, or if I buy it in Toronto, or if I buy it outside of Toronto, there's going to be different costs associated with the land transfer tax. So all of those type of things, I think that's a way of you educating your client. And again, I always say you have to be different. You have to differentiate yourself from any other real estate agents. That's why that's why that client is dealing with you. You have to be very specific to them. So in this case, yeah, you need to give information to clients upfront. Of course, don't get too involved. Lawyers are there to do their job. Mortgage brokers are there to do their job. So they have to take responsibility. Lawyers, mortgage brokers, everyone in the industry, home inspectors, appraisers, all of them are responsible for their portion. But at the same time, since you're the real estate agent, since you're the main one that's going to be helping this client, and since you want to have a repeat client and you want to build more relationships with this client and get more referrals to build your business, so for that purpose, we definitely have to give the main information, especially financial advice, upfront. And I'm not saying that you have to be a financial advisor here. You don't, but you have to give the basic understanding of what they should be expecting. Now, something that, since we're on this topic, something that I always want to bring up here, when it comes to development, a lot of people forget to tell their clients or forget to mention the fact that there could be development costs. There could be additional costs when you buy a pre-construction property and when it comes to closing. Everyone knows there's the simple carry-on fees, there's the simple paving, there's school and other forms of levies, right? And you have to give, I would definitely recommend clients, agents providing clients the information regarding that. Hey, even if you sign this at 999,000, remember there might be additional fees associated with the builder. I recommend you to go to your lawyers and cap the development cost, cap as much as you can, find out the remaining charges that you may be applicable for. So just giving that information up front. I had a client recently, actually last year, August. They said that I only have this much money, and my real estate agent told me this is only what I need to put down. But there was over $18,000 2 days before closing. The client found out from their lawyers, $18,000 they had to bring up in addition. Why? Because there was development charges and other levies attached to that development. So this is while I'm doing the mortgage, I have to tell the client, you have to expect certain things. But the client finding out only 2 days before from the lawyers exactly how much that was, it's a surprise. And, that's what we want to avoid, especially when we're closing a transactions. So if we start off and engage with your sellers, buyers, whoever they are, and tell them these are some expected fees, these are some industry norms. This is something you might come across when you do make this decision versus that decision. If we bring up things like that, you're not giving them a dollar figure amount you shouldn't be. Lawyers are there to do their job, but at the same time, giving a client an upfront understanding, hey, you might expect this when you make this decision, is very good upfront, so you don't have any issues last minute. Just wanted to add that because I felt that'll be helpful. A lot of people overlook that aspect.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. Again, I mean, first of all, to Kanna's point, again, you're not actually giving exact figure. Like you know that there will be approximately about $40,000 for land transfer tax. Again, who likes surprises? We like surprises only if it is a pleasant one. If it is a bad one, people will hate you, right? I mean, if a pleasant surprises they all will love it. But if something like 18,000 or 5,000, and or even sometimes it is small amount will be big deal for some people, right? I mean, depending upon the kind of deal. So what you need to remember, these informations are available for you guys, right? You can check the in the mortgage calculator to get an approximate figure. You can get the the land transfer calculator to get an approximate figure, and these are all in the MLS and in your tools you have it. But you don't need to give the exact figure. You can approximately say that Mr. Seller, there will be approximately around, apart from my commissions and all that, there will be there will be adjustment and the lawyer's fees and all that, there will be approximately around $10,000. It may not be $10,000, but you already raised the bar. And when you actually the seller is actually found out only 6,000 is the expenses, they will be really happy. But if it is on the other way around, they'll be really unhappy with you. So that's what you need to be mindful on that. So this is just to give you a perspective. How will they select an agent? Like when they're actually buying exceptional service, least inconvenience, right? I mean, if you're actually going to carve out you're talking about your services and all that, you really actually explain about them. So what are they actually, the seller is actually thinking about it? They're saying that, okay, it's going to be a least inconvenience for me. Like I'll be able to sell my property quickly because based on your marketing plan, they're convinced and all that. And the best marketing plan, what are they actually thinking? They don't have to go through the showing, the cleaning the house and all, like, I mean, making them available and all that. So less amount of time in the market. Sorry, guys. Sorry about that. So, and market price listing, like, that's actually if you price it correctly, you're going to actually get the highest net result, right? That's why the CMA is important. It is not about pricing it high. Doesn't mean that you're going to get it the high result. It's actually on the other way around. Market it correctly. That's where you're going to get the high result. And discounted service is what? Lowest commission, the service will be low because you always have that in your mind. I'm only charging $500 for this person, and why would I actually do that? So you yourself will be in that mindset if you're making it low, and so then your service will also be low. Highest listing price, what is it happening? It's actually going to have the lower sales price, because highest price, many times you will have less showing, right? The more number of days in the market, it's actually going to backfire you. Then that will become a comparison property for others. They'll say that this was in the market for 14 days. Nobody didn't come. We didn't get any sale. Or 14 days is actually less, actually more than that. So it's actually highest price doesn't mean it's a good thing. You can sell it on a highest price when you price it correctly, and sell it high is a good thing. But price it high doesn't mean that is you're going to sell it correctly. Then it's actually, you will end up adjusting the price and the lower sales price. So that's why this is actually kind of an idea, who's control what. Remember this, in any product there are 4 P's, right? Your product, promotion, price, and the place. Right, this is actually in the marketing, the four P's are there. Like your product is the house, like that is when you're pricing a properties, what kind of property is that, whether it is a 4-bedroom detached house, 4 bathrooms and all that, you know about the product well. And the promotion is what kind of marketing you're doing to sell that properties, whether it is MLS and your digital footprint, your all other things, your database and all that. And the price is pricing it correctly, right? I mean, you're not actually overpricing or underpricing or something. Pricing it correctly is the success story. And the place is, where is this property is located, right? For any property in the marketing, this is not just real estate, for anything in the world, in there is what they called in the marketing is there are 4 P's of marketing. These are the 4 P's, which is product, promotion, price, and the place, right? And again, learn your local market, preview properties every week. Success in getting listings sold always begins with the price. Price it right, faster it sells. Because if you price it correctly, that's where it's people, you will attract more people, and then that's where you actually bring up those multiple offers and all those kind of things you do that. And this is again, how do you actually pricing not just the CMA itself, because you also have to CMA right now. It may be when you really today's current market trend. It's not just the CMA. You also need to know that what is the market trend is there, right? I mean, it is important what's happening in the industry. Right now you can't just rely on the CMA and then price it, right? Because things are changing. It's skyrocketing everywhere. Things, the market is like really in a different tent, and again it's based on which areas, what kind of property and all that. So it is important that you know about your neighborhood and how you're putting going on a 5% under market value. So when the seller talks, just get an idea. Like again, this is something which you have to by experience. You will know that what is, if you know that 850 and that's what you're thinking, and just keep that buffer to negotiate, so that what they're selling it, you can actually adjust your price based on their ask. And tell the truth that I always tell you. And who controls what? Always remember this, right? The location and the financing is given. That means the location, you cannot change a house from Markham area to Brampton, because your property is in Markham, so the location is given. You can't change that. And the financing is also like, because of the client's financing status, which is based on the mortgage, their down payment requirement, and all other things, which is already there. You can't make any changes there. You cannot control that one. The marketing is something which you can completely control on that. What kind of marketing plan you're going to come, what kind of pricing you're going to recommend, right? What kind of database and what kind of things. And this is completely controlled by the real estate agent. The prices, again, today's, you can't really say that you are actually, you can price it correctly, but the price is actually driven by the market. Right? I mean, do you guys think that this kind of trend will always going to remain? Maybe not, or maybe it will change, or it will decrease or increase. We don't know, because the price is market is the one which is actually driving that. And there are different external factors there because of the mortgage rate, and people have got money, and whatever the reason, the job market is doing well, the economic thing is doing well, more immigrants are coming, more developments are coming. So those things are the external factors which will impact the price and the demand in the market, right? And the property condition is what seller is going to control, whether the seller is actually really wanted to renovate, or it's up to them, right? I mean, what kind of money you can do the recommendation, but it is controlled by the seller. So always, just get an ideas in that way. You will know where you need to focus and where you have to actually recommend the seller, and you explain, what's your rationale behind that. Make sense? Anyone? Did I lose you guys?
No, we're still here.
Okay.
No,
okay.
Definitely great input there of okay. What we can do and what we cannot. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually, we'll wrap up quickly. And, this is a just listed script. This is, again, I'm going to actually send it to Kanna, and then you can actually take some time to practice this. Basically, if you imagine that is you got a listing, after the listing presentations, you got the listing. Now you have to start getting on sale. I understand today's time, you don't have to do much because properties are selling on its own, but that's, again, it's not that, it's always going to be the case. So you have to spend some time and, practice the script. When you actually get a listing, how do you actually go back, and then start prospecting? Like, I mean, you going back in your database and calling up people and introduce that as you got this listing and this is what it is, it has a 3-bedroom and bath, just go through that. And I'll send this, take some time to practice that one, the script, and then, it will really help you on that. So that's what today's topic is. Any question or anything you guys wanted to discuss further? Anything on the chat box? All right. Hope you all enjoyed, and we will, we will regroup next weekend, and I will inform Kanna about the next weekend topic. But I'm really hoping this was helpful for all to you. Again, I repeat, if you don't have a listing presentation, take time to create one. Start at least with the basic thing, and then you can definitely, just increase it and improve it, and as we go along.
Yeah, again, thank you very much, Gopa. It's always a pleasure having you here. Even though some people may think that this is common sense. This is basic information. This is I already know this, right?
Yeah.
I think that's a common answer that some individuals may say. But what the unique part here is, common sense is sometimes not common sense. Right? Common sense is not as common as much as we think, right? So this repetitive information and this update, or let's just say a remembrance to all of the basics, it's very, very important, right? And definitely trying to get trying to tweak what you're saying to our own benefit is definitely the main you can capture the market. You can do very well in the industry if you really take things to heart from what we actually speak about, right? Everything here is wonderful. I just want to go back to what Mohan said earlier as well regarding an issue with the mortgage discharge coming to a lot at the end of the transaction. Certain things like that easily can be avoided if the clients have that information upfront. So what Gopa has been telling is know how to do our job properly. Don't wait until we get a client to actually start learning what to do. Do everything beforehand. All of these trainings should just motivate you to also enjoy your weekend, but also touch up on these topics that we talked about. Get yourself ready for to be in the field, and get yourself ready to answer questions that you normally may not ask yourself. So I think that's one of the major takeaways from these sessions that we're holding, and how we can definitely use it to our own advantage. So again, thank you very much, Gopa.
Thank you.
And we'll see everyone next weekend, okay?
Thank you all. Have a good weekend. Talk to you soon.
Bye now. Take care.
Bye.